Hey guys, welcome to the next installment of Color Changing. So we've done our little mini blanket here with 4 color blocks. Okay, you've learned how to you've learned your foundation double crochet and how to color change in it, and you've learned how to color change all of this and keep your tails on the back. If you've missed those first 2 videos, you want to go back and watch them. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that our pattern is done and we are instructed to do that initial single crochet edging around our blanket to get ready to put on a border. So we're looking at the front because we can see the front side of our stitches on row 1. Okay, that's how you know your front, if you hold your hook in your right hand. If you hold your hook in your left hand, the front of your blanket is going to be when you can see row 2 facing you correctly with the front of the stitches. So then you would work your tails to hang off the other side. I finished my my 6th row and it was wrong side facing. So in the pattern, you'll be instructed to chain 1 and turn your work. So you're looking back at the front, okay? Because we want to do the single crochet edging with the front side facing us. This chain 1 is not a stitch, okay? It does not count as one. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put 2 single crochets into your first double crochet stitch along this top side. The first one is your corner stitch. So what I advise you to do in my patterns is to mark that with a stitch marker so it's easy to see, and make sure you've counted right when you're doing whatever border you're doing. So then you're just going to continue with your single crochets across. Now it's time I can switch back to the purple. Now I've cut this for the purpose of being able to show you the handy trick. Normally, if this was a real blanket, I would have known I was going to turn and I wouldn't have cut this color because I would have known I was going to come back and use it. So this is the magic knot. It is a game changer. So you've got your tail and you've got your yarn that's connected to your skein, okay? You're going to cross them over like this so that your new yarn is on top of your old yarn. And you're going to put it under, put it over, and you're just going to tie a knot like when we tie our shoelaces, okay? You're going to pull it really tight, okay? Then you're going to take the tail that's connected to your work and you're going to put it under the new yarn, bring it up and around, over itself and under itself, and tie a knot like when we're tying our shoelaces. You're going to pull it nice and tight. And then what you have is 2 knots and a little bit in between. Now they pull and they come together, and you're going to pull that tight too. I know this sounds crazy. Then you're going to cut off these ends as close as you can to that knot. So just right up to it. I'm pulling this really hard. You can't tell in the video, but it is not coming apart. So I like this. I like this method. I think the knots get hidden in. I don't think you can see them or feel them. They don't bother me. And it's a nice way to not get another end. So I've connected my new color. Color changing when you're single crocheting is exactly the same as when you're double crocheting. You don't finish the stitch. You just do the first part. Then you drop your yarn and grab your next color to pull through to finish the single crochet. And then keep going as normal. I'm going to come here and I'm going to be working with that knot, and sometimes it ends up as part of the stitch, sometimes it ends up in there, but I don't think that it detracts from the work at all. So I like to use it. So let's keep going across. Okay, now we've got this chain 2 here. That counts as a double crochet stitch. So, and since we're at the other end, you're going to be told in the pattern to put 2 single crochets in this other end. The first one is part of this top side. The second one is your corner stitch. Because the second one is your corner stitch, I want you to put a stitch marker in it. I still put stitch markers in it even though I've been doing this for a really long time just because it makes it easier for my brain when I need to do the border later. Okay, so now we're going to be rotating our blanket and we're going to work into the last stitch on each row. So here's where things are interesting at the moment. So most of my patterns from the last 3 years are instructing you to put 2 single crochet into around the post of each row down the side. That's fine and it's not wrong. However, a lot of people, some other people, they post pictures and it's really wavy. It depends on your tension. So if you stitch really tight, 2 single crochet may not work down the side for you. Or if you stitch really loose, 2 single crochet may not work down the side for you. You kind of need to be just right. It's kind of like a Goldilocks factor. For me, I don't usually get rippling when I go down the side with 2. It works fine for me. I think that I intuitively do my single crochet and my borders just a little bit tighter because I'm aware that rippling could happen. I've been starting in my newer patterns starting in May 2013. The borders are going to be a little different. I'm now suggesting that you do a ratio of 5 single crochets to 3 rows. And I've got it all written out for you. You don't have to do the math or anything like that. And I may be going back to edit all my other patterns to add that in. I haven't decided yet. So for this one, I'm going to show you the new way. So that will be, you'll make 2 single crochets around the post of the first one and 2 around the post of the next one. And then we'll only put 1 around this next post because we do, it's a pattern of 5 stitches and 3 rows. So we'll just do 1 around this one. And this is also where I'm going to want to color change so that I can continue matching around my blanket. So I'm going to do the same trick I did before where I used that magic knot so I could have more yarn to continue going around. This is my attached yarn. This is my roll of yarn. So I'm going to put it on top and then I'm just going to tie a knot like when I tie my shoelaces, but I'm going to tie my skein string around my attached string. So I'm going to go underneath. I'm just going to tie a knot like you were tying your shoelaces and I'm going to pull it really tight. You can even slide it, the knot slides, you can slide it down so you have more to work with. Now for the second knot, you're going to tie the yarn attached to your project around the yarn that's coming from your skein. Okay, so go under and around it, and then tie your knot nice and tight. And then you can pull them both together, pull that nice and tight too, and then chop off your ends. Really close to the knot. You don't want any bit of tail sticking out or hanging so that you can see it. See how I cut it so close? Can't see it. And if you've done it correctly, this will not pull apart. It might take a couple of tries to get it right. So I'm pulling really hard on this. I am pulled so hard that I've broken the yarn, but haven't broken the knot. So it's magical. Okay, so now I'm ready to work my single crochet, my last one. Okay, we'll pick up my pink and then I can pull through with my pink to finish my purple stitch. And I've changed colors. Now to keep this last purple tight, I like to start crocheting over it as I go down the side. Just a couple stitches and then I'll weave it in however I like. So I finished my next pink one. Okay, I'm going to do 2 pinks, then 2 pinks around the next post, and then I'm going to do just 1 pink around the last one. I'm going to kind of rotate my work, and this is the beauty of the foundation double crochet. And if you have watched that video, you've seen how to work into this chain, but I'm going to show you again here. So the bottom of your foundation stitch looks exactly like the top of a stitch, which makes it really easy and smooth to work into instead of trying to get into one of those tight little pieces of chain. So The first one always looks a little uglier than the rest, but it's right here. And I'm going to put 2 single crochets into it. The first one will be my corner stitch, and the second one will be the first stitch along the bottom of my blanket. So put your marker in the first one of those 2 you made, and that's going to be the corner of your work. Tip I would give you for going into the foundation chain is you can see how you have the double crochet stitch right here, you have the foundation chain piece right here, but then there's this extra loop right here that you get from doing that foundation double crochet method. I like to go over that loop too, so it doesn't make that bottom row look longer than the rest of the rows of my blanket. So I didn't go into it on this corner, and that's okay. Go into that extra loop as well and put my single crochet all the way around it. So I'm getting that loop there plus going through that V of the bottom. And then my double crochet is looking the same length as the rest of my double crochets, and my single crochet edging is nice and tight right up against my stitches without a huge gap. Okay, so I'm going through it right there rather than up here. Okay, so here's a point where I'd want to color change. I do not have a tail I can use right here because you wouldn't want to come and take a tail up from the middle of your blanket and bring it up because that would look terrible. Okay, so I don't get to save an end here. I will just bring in and change my color like normal. I'll just yarn over, pulling it through. That completes the single crochet. Then I just go ahead and go on with the next one, and I will go over that tail of the one I just joined to secure it down. I might keep crocheting over it too. However you like to secure your tails is fine. So I'll go all the way across, making sure I'm going into this extra loop thing right there. Okay, so I've gotten all the way across, and I have left, what I have left here is my very first bottom chain. And I'm going to go into that with my 2 single crochet. I know it's my very last bottom chain because my tail is attached to it, and sometimes, like you can see here, it's getting pulled kind of tight. Usually I will stick a stitch marker in that very bottom chain when I do my foundation crochet, just so I don't forget to crochet into this stitch, and then my count will be off. The bottom of that first chain 3 that you did for your foundation crochet, you want to go into it. Okay, so 2 single crochets into that very first chain you made to start your project. And the second one is the corner. So we have the 2 corners and all the bottom in between. Now we're just going to rotate, and we're going to continue up this side exactly like we did this side. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 into the first one, 2 into the second row, and then I'm just going to do 1 into the next row, with keeping in that 3 to 5 ratio. And like I said, in my newer patterns, I'll have this counted out for you. You won't have to think about it or anything like that. But if it's something you want to try with one of my older patterns where it says to do 2 down each row and you want to try this, the ratio is 5 single crochet to 3 rows. And just do it all the way down and end wherever you end. This happens to work out evenly so that there's exactly 10 stitches because I have 6 rows. But if the blanket you're doing doesn't work out evenly, just follow the pattern until you can't anymore and just stick with that for your number of stitches down the side. So I have to finish this side. The top's already been done because we turned and did this part of the border. So I'm just going to join in my gold right here to finish the last side. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the corner stitch. And that's it. I've got my 4 corners, and then I've got my stitches down the side. That is color changing, color blocking, and also changing colors around the edge using your handy little magic knot to save a few ends where you can. I hope it was helpful.